Hi, this is Gabe at fluentforever.com. In this fourth and final video on English pronunciation, we're going to cover the differences between the general American dialect of English, the dialect we've been discussing over the last 3 videos, and modern received pronunciation, or RP, a kind of standardized British English based on the upper-class accents of southern England. And to help me with demonstrating this accent correctly, Eliza, an accent coach, is here to help us out.
Hey.
We'll break this discussion up into 5 parts. Similarities between the 2 dialects, differences in terms of single vowels, differences in terms of diphthongs, the British R, and a couple of nuances with L and T. So, let's start out with some similarities. First off, consonants. With a few minor exceptions regarding the consonants R, L, and T, and we'll discuss those at the end of this video, all of the rest of the English consonants are effectively the same between general American and received pronunciation. We don't need to change anything. As for the vowels, several of them are the same too.
I as in bit, E as in bet, as in book, and ow as in house.
You can consider the 4 of these as more or less the same in both dialects. There are 2 more that are mostly the same.
First there's A as in face.
Back in video 2, we introduced you to the American English A as in face. And in RP, that vowel just starts a smidge lower in your mouth.
A as in face. American is A, RP is A. A, A. Face, face. The other vowel we can discuss here is as in hut. American English has as in hut, which is a little further back in the mouth when compared with RP's as in hut. Hut, hut.
Now this is a really subtle distinction. It's such a small difference that the IPA symbols remain the same, and it's so hard to hear, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. You can honestly treat as the same in both dialects. So now, let's talk about some substantial differences. We'll start with single vowel sounds. First, let's talk about what happens to the American English as in cat, since it gets a bit tricky.
In the context of words like cat, you're going to hear as in cat. It's not cat, it's cat. Cat, cat.
The vowel takes on a lower and more fronted tongue position. But that's not the end of the story.
American English words like bath, mass, and laugh become bath, mass, and laugh. When you find an A followed by th, s, or th, you will often hear ah.
In IPA, it's the same symbol that American English uses for as in hot, but in RP, it's followed by a colon-looking thing. This symbol makes the vowel extra long. And you'll notice this symbol in several of RP's vowels. RP uses vowel length much more noticeably than in general American.
So it's not bath, it's bath.
Our next stop is to discuss cot and cot. If you recall, many speakers of American English, myself included, don't make a distinction between the 2 words. It's as in cot and as in cot. They're the same. But that doesn't apply at all to received pronunciation.
Instead, you'll find 2 rounded vowels, the short o as in cot or want, and the long o as in court or walk. We already talked a bit about how to make o in video 2.
You round your lips and keep your tongue back and slightly raised. The big difference for RP is that the vowel is extra long.
But o as in cot is a bit new.
To make this new vowel, you'll take the tongue position of the American as in cot, but then round your lips.
So instead of cot, you get cot, cat, cot, o. And do make sure to keep it short. It's not caught, it's cot, want.
The last vowels I'd like to cover in this section aren't exactly new. In the previous videos, we talked about the unstressed schwa vowel, as in about and bazaar. In received pronunciation, this vowel stays roughly the same.
You have as in about and bazaar.
But there's an interesting thing that happens to unstressed I in received pronunciation. It has a tendency to go towards I as in bit.
So that means that in RP you can actually hear the difference between bazaar and bizarre. Bazaar, bizarre.
Where those words are effectively the same in General American. At this point, we can start working through diphthongs in received pronunciation.
We'll start with E as in B. This one can be pronounced as a single long E vowel, E as in B, but often you'll hear it start out with a lower tongue position nearly all the way down to I as in bit, giving you E. To be fair, that is a bit over-exaggerated. You probably won't hear B, but you will hear just a touch of that sound, B.
So don't go overboard here, but do keep your ear out for this slight tendency towards a super short I right in the beginning.
E, B. We have a similar thing going on for oo, as in moo.
Back in American English, we were starting this vowel with the same vowel as as in put. For RP, you'll be starting higher and further forward in your mouth.
Instead of starting at you'll start at oo. So it's not oo, but rather oo. Moo, moo.
The technical IPA symbol for that first weird sound is a U with a line through it. But since it's not a symbol you're going to see in any dictionary, I'm going to stick to the standard way of transcribing this vowel as a long version of oo. And I just want you to be aware that the first instant of that vowel has a tongue position that's slightly further forward than the final ending position. Now, before moving on, I'll throw in a couple of spelling rules that relate to this vowel. In American English, if you had an alveolar consonant like T, D, N, L, S, and Z, followed by an oo sound, then you got oo as in tune, nude, and zoo. Nothing special. In RP, you'll stick in a y sound after T, D, and N.
So it's tune and nude.
You'll drop that y sound for words starting with L, S, and Z.
So you still get zoo and loon.
But you'll put that y back in for L, S, and Z if the syllable is in the middle of a word,
giving you words like value, assume, and presume.
There's also another weird little spelling rule with oo. Almost every time you see that extra long oo symbol in IPA, you'll have your tongue start out a bit further forward in your mouth.
Ooh, coo.
But if the next sound is an L, then just keep your tongue back the whole time.
Ooh, cool. So there's the normal ooh, coo, and the uncommon ooh, cool.
And that is all for oo. Moving on to some simpler substitutions. American English has O as in bone, and RP switches the first sound out for a schwa, an sound.
So RP has O, bone. To compare, American English has bone, and RP has bone. Bone, bone, O, O. Next there's I as in sigh.
American English has I, sigh, starting with a tongue position low and all the way in the front. RP's diphthong is just as low, but all the way in the back of your mouth.
I, sigh. To compare, American has sigh, RP has sigh. Sigh, sigh. I. Last, there's oi, as in boy.
American English has oi as in boy, which has a higher starting tongue position.
RP starts further down at the same spot as o, as in court. Oi. To compare, American English has boy, RP has boy. Boy, boy. Oi, oi.
We have 2 topics left. First off, we'll talk about how to handle the letter R in received pronunciation. Now, when R shows up in the beginning of a syllable, it's exactly the same.
You get r, as in rat. It's the same.
The big changes happen when R shows up at the ends of syllables. The sound in American English, that does not exist in RP. So you have to substitute in another vowel.
Around half the time this is going to be a schwa, the sound from about. That gives you words like water and turkey.
Notice that in this one, what used to be a stressed is extra long.
Turkey and ear.
For this particular case, the initial vowel is affected too. Many speakers start this vowel combination with I instead of E.
So you'll usually hear ear rather than ear.
The other substitution will make a different vowel extra long.
That produces vowels like or, as in court, which sounds identical to or, as in court.
These two words are now homophones in received pronunciation.
Then there's air, as in hair,
It's just an extra long sound.
and r, as in car, which is the same sound we've already discussed in bath and mass.
So that's all for R, and we are just about done. We just have a couple of small changes in T and L. We'll start with T. In most cases, T is pronounced the same in American English and RP. The only time we need to pay attention is when you get a T in between two vowels, in contexts like the word British or get it. In American English, that T will tend to almost turn into a D. British, get it. But RP tends to sound a bit different. You will hear that D-like sound sometimes.
But much more often you'll either get a real articulated T sound, get it, or you'll hear a glottal stop, British, in the middle of the word.
So keep an ear out for that. Now last, we'll talk about the consonant L. At the ends of words, American English and RP use the same consonant,
All, as in bill.
with the back and front of your tongue raised up. But in the beginnings of syllables,
In words like lit,
you'll find that the back of your tongue will be substantially lower in RP. It's mostly just the front of your tongue that's raising up.
so you'll get l rather than all. American English has lit, RP has lit, 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 l, ooh.
And with that, we've covered all of the new sounds of received pronunciation. To quickly review, we began with several sounds that were the same between RP and General American. There were the consonants, which were the same other than RT and L, and then the following vowels.
I as in bit, e as in bet, as in book, and ow as in house. We also talked about a as in face, which started out a smidge lower in the mouth than the American a as in face. And then there was as in hut, which was just a tiny, tiny bit further forward in the mouth when compared to the American as in hut.
But it's so minor that you can really ignore the difference. Next, we went on to the single vowel sounds.
There was a as in cat, which was lower and further forward in the mouth when compared to American English's a. Then there was the long r as in bath,
which showed up when you had an A followed by th, s, or f,
Then came the short o as in cot,
which was low and far back in your mouth with rounded lips,
and the long or as in court or walk.
which was a little higher in the mouth, but still far back and with rounded lips.
We then discussed the unstressed schwa vowel, as in bazaar, and the unstressed I vowel, as in bizarre.
After that, we moved on to diphthongs,
There was E as in bee, which for many speakers has just a touch of I in the beginning. Then there was oo as in moo,
which tended to start with a tongue position that was high up and in the middle of your mouth, before pulling back to oo. Ooh. That vowel picked up a y sound when it showed up after a T, a D, or an N,
giving you words like tune and nude.
and it picked up the same y sound when it showed up after an L, S, or Z, but only in the middle of a word.
Giving you words like value and assume. This is also where we mentioned that the sound near the beginning of words like coo goes away if it's followed by an L, producing words like cool.
We then covered some fairly simple substitutions.
There was O as in bone, which began with a schwa, bone. Then there was I as in sigh,
which started all the way at the back of your mouth,
sigh, and oi as in boy,
which started fairly low in your mouth.
boy.
After that, we covered the letter R. It sounded the same in the beginnings of words,
Rat,
but vanished entirely at the ends of syllables, getting replaced with either a schwa,
as in water, turkey, and ear.
or it made another vowel extra long,
Or as in court, air as in hair, and as in car.
We then covered T, which in between two vowels was often pronounced differently from General American's d-like sound in words like butter or get it.
Generally, you'll tend to hear a clear t sound, as in get it, or a glottal stop, as in British.
Finally, we covered L, which at the beginnings of syllables was pronounced without lifting the back of your tongue,
giving you a clear L sound, as in lit.
And with that, we are completely finished with English. If you need a hand in memorizing all of this and training your ears to hear it, then grab a received pronunciation trainer from my website linked below. You'll have all of this memorized within a couple of weeks. I'll see you next time.